Hey guys, I am back with another book review, and in tonight's book review, I will be discussing Tom O'Neill's Chaos, Charles Manson, the CIA, and the Secret History of the 60s. This book is comes in at 436 pages, and it is from Little Brown Publishing. So just to give you a little history on Tom O'Neill and this book, Tom O'Neill is a journalist who for 20 years has been kind of delving into the uh, mystery of Charles Manson and the original murders from August 9th, 1969. And famously, we all know that Sharon Tate and a few of her friends were murdered in the Hollywood Hills on that night, and it is often credited as, the night that killed the 60s. And Tom O'Neill was given an assignment by Premiere Magazine back in 1999 to kind of do a 30-year observation on how the murders affected Hollywood and actors and stuff like that. But when he started doing research, he started finding um, a lot of plot holes within the original narrative that we've been fed. For example, most of this book, Chaos, most of this book um, refutes Vincent Bugliossi's Helter Skelter. Now, Vincent Bugliosi is, famous for prosecuting Charles Manson in the 60s. And he also wrote a book about it called Helter Skelter. And a lot of this chaos, a lot of the stuff in this book, Chaos, is about some of the discrepancies and inaccuracies in that original book. For example, um, Terry Melcher committing perjury on the stand. Now, Terry Melcher was a pretty famous producer for the Beach Boys. He was the son of Doris Day, and he had lied on the stand about not knowing Charles Manson, but yet there was evidence that he had known Charles Manson and was out at the Spawn Ranch. Um, so yeah, a lot of this book just kind of refutes the original Helter Skelter novel, and it also goes down uh, a lot of rabbit holes too, um, with a lot of conspiracy theories and very little conclusion to any of them. A lot of it is speculation. Some of it has been proven. But Tom O'Neill stresses in the book a few times that he's not out to tell us what happened. He's out to tell us that what has been told to us isn't exactly true or fair. Um, but yeah, some of the conspiracies, like when you start reading the chapters, it's like, wow, how is he going to tie this all in? And then by the end of the chapter, you're like, wow, well, that could make sense. Like, for example, was Charles Manson some Manchurian candidate for our government in training? Back when they were back with the MK Ultra and how our government was trying to control the minds of civilians and make their own assassin. Another question is, Charles Manson and his followers were pretty much hippies just wandering from town to town, homeless, sleeping on different people's couches until they eventually ended up in Spawn Ranch. But they were just uh, out and about, just living day to day. Where did they get all these guns? Where did they get LSD? Where did they get the money for this? Were they just stealing everything, or was somebody supplying it to them? The book also references there was a raid out at the ranch a few weeks before the murders, and Manson had followers pointing guns at federal law enforcement and stuff. So where did they get all these weapons? Also, Manson should have technically been in jail during the Tate LaBianca murders because he was on parole, but his parole officer, whose name escapes me, because there's a lot of this book dedicated to him too and what he was doing. Um, he was letting Manson travel as far as to Mexico, obviously way beyond California lines. So there's a lot of different, very interesting things in Chaos, and Tom O'Neill, it was supposed to be just a simple article that turned into this novel, and it's 20 years of reporting. He talked to original detectives. He talked to Stephen Kay, who was Bugliossi's co-prosecutor. He talks to, Bugliosi is actually in this book because he started off with Bugliosi interviewing him, and you find out that Vincent Bugliosi wasn't a very good guy, and he had some skeletons in his closet as well. But yeah, it's just a fascinating book. There's interviews with different people who were involved, who knew the families, who like I said, cops, um, you know, all types of law enforcement back then. Just Terry Melcher was interviewed. Like he went out and did a lot of interviews dating back to like 2000. So yeah, if you want to know any more about him, I learned about him on a Joe Rogan podcast, and this book is kind of blown up. It's pretty popular. If you are a free thinking individual, if you want to know a little bit more than what's in Helter Skelter or what we've been told for years, this is a very interesting book. And it's not pro Manson. Like, he doesn't say Manson was a great person and shouldn't have been indicted for murders and stuff. I mean, he's not saying that, but he is saying that the original story that we've been told really wasn't accurate. And he does bring up a lot of really interesting points. Um, the criticism I've heard a lot about this book is that there's no real conclusion, and that is true. He goes down these one-way streets or these rabbit holes, and he doesn't really have a conclusion as to, um, like, there's just no real conclusion to any of this stuff. Um, but there's enough evidence through Freedom of Information Acts and stuff to know that people weren't exactly telling the truth about this case, and that there's a lot that we really did not know. So he's bringing a lot of that to the surface in this book, and I think it's a tremendous piece of work. Um, when I do my yearly wrap up, it's going to be like high up there on the list because it is an intriguing book. It had me from page one. I could not put it down. Just very intriguing. But those are my thoughts on Chaos, Charles Manson, the CIA, and the Secret History of the 60s by Tom O'Neill. If you guys are interested in this type of stuff, please check it out. I highly recommend it. As always, thank you for watching, and I will be back again with another book review. See you guys later.